unapologetic, unadulterated, uncompromising, and absolutely unstoppable. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the superfortress of intelligent Black thought. This is the BlackChannel.net radio program, and I am, of course, your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Greetings to all my brothers and sisters from around the world. I'm glad to have you all with us here this evening. This has been an ambitious and auspicious occasion. We have done something that has never been done before in the annals of Black society. We have accomplished things that Black people have not seen in a generation or several generations. And before I go any farther, I would first off like to say thank you. Our documentary film project, Gentrified, defied all expectations, surpassed all expectations, and has really set a new high water benchmark for anything and everything that comes after it. And I would like to thank each and every person out there who contributed to this effort, who contributed not just money, but contributed your time, your support, who gave it the word of mouth that it needed, who told your friends about it. You know, as I've been traveling around, I've been talking to people, they didn't know who I was, but I would ask them about the film, and they would talk about the billboards. It seems the billboards really touched people and touched a nerve. It really put it out there in the open in a way that was absolutely impossible to ignore, although your old Black media, oh, they definitely did try that, didn't they? Oh yes, they did attempt to ignore it. It didn't go very well for them. But I would like to thank all of you who helped to supplement our advertising campaign to give it a really big push out there. Of course, you would love to have millions of dollars to be able to do this with, but as it stands, we were able to accomplish so much. And I want to thank each and every one of you who put your faith in me, because I know that you've been lied to. I know that you have been abused. I know that there have been con men, con artists, con women, con people who they have been using Black empowerment as a hustle, like the preachers do with religion. And I know that for a lot of you, you've become weary, your faith has been tested, and your hearts have been broken. And I want to thank all of you who dug down deep and still found the ability to keep believing. And I hope that at least in some small way, in some small measure, that we have helped to reaffirm your faith in a place called Africa and a people called Africans. I hope in some small way we've managed to accomplish doing that. Next, I would like to thank all of my hosts for the various screenings that we had: Samuel Elarape, Rick Alexis, Charlene, Bartholomew, Nagus, Nicole, Stephanie, in America and around the world, Black History Studies in London. They're having another screening coming up on Saturday, February 25th. There will be another screening in London, hosted by Bobby Kirkland, and I want to encourage all of you to go see that too, by the way. I would like to thank the members of the media who were not afraid. I'd like to thank them. There are woefully few of them. This won't take very long to go over it all, as a matter of fact. Very, very few of them were not terrified and scared and cowardly to death. And I would like to thank those who are not out here lying to the people. I would like to thank our partners at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. I'd like to thank the KPFT in Houston. I'd like to thank definitely the 910 Superstation out of Detroit. They held us down in a major way up there. They really gave us a lot of attention because we earned it. But definitely they did not do like most of the other television and newspaper outlets around the country. They did not make a conscious, deliberate effort to try to bury us by ignoring us, as if that could work at this point. I'd like to thank Carl Nelson, another person who didn't try to ignore us and actually helped us to get out there. I want to thank them as well. And I'd like to thank all of the unsung heroes of the Black Channel. Those of you who have worked and labored and toiled with us for years. Individuals who volunteered, got no pay out of it, but were out there in the streets, in the rain, with the people. Folks like Bartholomew Washington and all of his friends that he gathered together. Those people, if black people survive this, the most dangerous period in history for black people, it will be you that they have to thank for it. People like Carrie Locks and Devin and Vernon and Ronan up in Chicago, people like that who answered the call when it was given. Those are the kind of people that we really need and really need to thank. Everyone who helped Nicole in Atlanta, and Brother Haki and Sam in New York and Washington, all the people who assisted with them, you are the unsung heroes. And if no one else ever recognizes what you did, just know that I know. Just know that even if millions of people don't know, just know that Jason does know. And I salute you. I salute you all. You helped bring this together, and no one can ever take that away from you. You wanted to move the needle. You wanted to change things. And I want to tell you, you succeeded. You succeeded with flying colors. That's who we want to thank. But there are some people I don't want to thank. There are some people out there who thought that they were going to derail our project. There were people out there who were doing the work of the white supremacist establishment and had decided that they'll boost Beyonce tickets, they'll talk about that, but that they were going to try to bury this film by not speaking about it at all. Now understand, the advertising has been out there for months. The TV advertising, the radio advertising, the billboards that people can't quit talking about, the flyers, the word of mouth, the online advertising. It's been out there for months, since November. Literally everybody in these cities has known about it. And as I promised you all, it was not that. Understand, if things didn't go a certain way, it was not because they didn't know about it, and it wasn't because your local media was unaware. I have confirmation and documented proof, and that's what we're going to go into here tonight, that every single one of them in these cities, they knew about it. The only ones who did not talk about it were the ones who did not want to, but it was not because they were unaware. They didn't talk about it because they were hoping that we would fail. They were desirous to see us fail because they are against black people. They work at white radio stations and white TV stations and white newspapers, but the reason they got their jobs is because they are against black people. And their behavior over the last 3 months has proven it. I got inundated with messages from local media in Atlanta and Chicago and elsewhere 2 days before Gentrified opened nationally on February 18th, 2 days before, 48 hours before, in some cases, in one case 72 hours, but generally 48 hours before that, I got slammed with requests from TV stations and radio stations in the very cities. They have been driving by our billboards. They have been listening to our radio ads for months. They have been doing that and acted like it wasn't even happening. Now, let me tell you what the real crime of that is. The real crime of that is the fact that you are supposed to be a news reporter. And do you all know what the word news means? It means just that. What is new? It is their job to, quote, break news, break what is new, and put it out there on a forum for everybody to see. When something newsworthy occurs, they are supposed to be bringing it to you first. That is their job. That's the whole reason that they get up in the morning, is their job to do that. And what we discovered was that you have so-called news outlets that outright flatly refused to report the news. You had celebrities, so-called celebrities, who they knew about us. They had been contacted. We had people who knew them personally and contacted them personally. They had become aware and then flatly started refusing it and ignoring it. And I'm going to name them also. I don't know if I'll get everybody because the list has gotten kind of long, but I think you'll get the point. I think you'll get it. So why don't we just go ahead and start right off the bat here. First of all, there was the case of Atlanta. Let's just start with that. Atlanta had major coverage. Atlanta had a lot of people who knew about this, and Atlanta went to war. Unfortunately, your media outlets in Atlanta went to war against Gentrified. There's such a thing as a whispering campaign, and I think they had a whispering campaign to say, shh, ignore it. Don't talk about the billboards. Don't talk about the ads. Don't talk about the flyers. This is the biggest event happening in Atlanta. People at the Shrine in Atlanta, the parking lot was full. The place was sold out. Folks had to stand. Cars were down the block and around the corner. They were parked at Wells Fargo, parked across the street at Ace Hardware. They were parked everywhere. Some people I don't think could even park. Some had just get dropped off. This is just how big it was. This is just how huge it was. Without any media outlets in Atlanta covering this, all of them knew about it, and they admitted it the day before. They contacted us the day before it opens. Oh, we want to talk to you. But here's the thing. They did not want to talk to us about the film. We caught that over and over and over again. They did not want to discuss the movie. They only wanted to discuss the billboards and gentrification in general. Now, I'm not a resident of Atlanta. You shouldn't be trying to talk to me about gentrification in Atlanta as a local subject. If you saw the billboard, you should be calling me to find out, what is that billboard about? These people had already written stories and said, no, we don't need to speak to you about no film. We just want to talk to you about the billboards and gentrification in general, but we don't need to talk about film. We've already written up stories. This happened again and again and again and again, telling me that they didn't need to talk to us about the film, that they had already written a story. Now, how in the hell do you already write a story about a billboard and you haven't said a word about to the person who made the billboard? What the hell kind of story is this going to be? It's going to be nonsense is what it is. It's going to be propaganda is what it is. They realized they could not drown us out of existence, so they simply went to war against us by other means. Okay, fine. If we can't ignore you to death, then we'll start writing stories about the billboard and just make it seem like this is just, oh, don't worry, this is just another person talking about gentrification. Ho-hum, just bypass it. I had gotten an email from a woman named Cara Stockton that says, I am a producer for the Shannon Burke Show in Atlanta, Georgia. I was driving down 285 yesterday and I saw the billboard for your documentary. We would love to talk to someone on air about this topic. Please let me know if you're interested. Now, I think this is one of those right-wing radio hosts, but this was on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and that was the Shannon Burke Show. Well, interesting. Not bad there, huh? Let's hear it for him in Atlanta. Next, we had gotten an email the next day, February 15th, from Natalie Moore of WBEZ in Chicago. Now, Natalie, once again, she had known about this. She had been seeing it. I talked to her on the phone. She had been passing by the billboard, and didn't contact us, didn't say anything, waited until 72 hours before the movie opened in her city before contacting us. What the hell kind of news reporter refuses to report the news and tries to wait until it's the olds? This is the concerted conscious effort that was going on. Hello, Miss Moore. And by the way, I mentioned to her on the phone. How could you have seen this billboard and not contacted us? You waited until just before it opens to contact us? That makes this a non-story. You sat on this all this time and didn't contact us until now. This was not an isolated incident. That was just up in Chicago. Down in Atlanta, February 16th, CBS 46 in Atlanta. We had gotten an email that day. Now, this is February 16th. This is 48 hours before the movie opens. 48 hours. CBS 46 in Atlanta, waited until 48 hours before the film opened before contacting us. They had been seeing the billboards. Hello, my name is Francesca Elzie. I am a new producer. I wonder if that's news producer or is new as in she just got a job there. I am a new producer with CBS 46 in Atlanta. One of my reporters is doing a story on the billboard you all have put up in metro cities across the country. Well, so what is she saying here? CBS 46 in Atlanta knew about us. They knew that there weren't just billboards in Atlanta. They knew we had put up billboards across the country, but had waited until 48 hours before the film opened to say something there. This is just how determined to sabotage and to try to mute what we were doing that these people were. And it wasn't just one or two of them. This is across the board. This is how dedicated to trying to derail and stop us from what we were doing that these people are. It wasn't just one or two people. She goes on to say, is it possible to get the locations of the billboards in Atlanta? That was what she asked. Can we get the locations of the billboards? Didn't ask to speak to us. Didn't ask anything else. Can you just tell us where your other billboards are? Next, we got an email from Ayanna Crystal. Ayanna Crystal, who is a reporter at CBS 46 in Atlanta, quote, now this was February 16th, by the way. So her news producer sends us an email. She sends an email right after that because they came back to back. And a manager at the station had contacted the Shrine in Atlanta. So at the very last minute, next thing we know, they call us. Once they realized how big this thing was going to be, at the very last minute, they called us, not because they wanted to get the word out, but because they were trying to tell people nothing to see here. Just some folks talking about gentrification. Nothing to see. We've already told you there's nothing to see here. You don't have to worry about it. Her email said, we are doing a story on the billboard here in Atlanta. When will the screening be here? Now, folks, if you saw the billboard, you saw that it very clearly says black people are being pushed out of Atlanta. In every city we're in, it just changed the name of the city no matter where you were. It said black people are being pushed out of Atlanta February 18th, 2017. YouWillBeMoved.org. And she said she had seen the billboard, and the first thing she asked is, when will the screening be here? How many billboards are up? What facts have you discovered that blacks are being pushed out of Atlanta? Did you notice she didn't say she wants to talk about the movie, just wants to talk about the billboards. Does not want to discuss the film. Just let's talk about the billboards. No, this is how low down and unscrupulous it really is. And when I spoke to her, I made her aware that, by the way, would you actually like to find out about the film, since the billboards were being put up for the film, not just to talk about gentrification in Atlanta in general? There's a movie that discusses all of this. Would you like to actually talk about that? Now, here's the real thing. When she printed her story, for those of you who saw it, when she actually printed the story, she didn't even use my name in the story. It just says an executive producer with the film said. And then she took a sentence from me. She didn't even use my name. You know why? Because she never actually asked my name during the interview. She didn't actually ask me. That's right. She had already printed up a story, already written it, already prepared to go on the news with it, and didn't even ask the guy who made the film that she had talked to what his name was. Just asked me what was my position with the movie. Didn't even ask me my name. This is what qualifies as news reporting in Atlanta. Becca Godwin with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, quote, I'm writing a brief story about the billboard in Atlanta for the Gentrified screening taking place tomorrow. Will anyone speak at the screening? If so, who? Please let me know if there's any additional information or comments you'd like to provide with your name and title. Thanks. This is Becca Godwin with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. As you all just heard, I'm writing a brief story about the billboard. Didn't ask about the movie. Do you all see this constant pattern here? They don't want to discuss the subject matter of the movie. We just want to talk about the billboard so that we can tell people, ho-hum, gentrification in Atlanta rolls on, blah, 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 moving right along, nothing to see here. People, if it was only one person at one place, at one publication, you could rule that out as an outlier. But when it happens over and over and over again, across cities, across news outlets, then you realize that all these people are on the same page. They've got a unified message, and they are all on the same page. Kind of tells you a lot there, doesn't it? That was February 17th, the day before the movie was to open. 24 hours before the movie opens, Becca Godwin says she's already writing stories. Once again, they didn't want to talk to me because they had already written up their stories. They had already written their pieces. How in the hell can you talk about these billboards and you've already written up pieces before you even talk to the person who put it up? I had to tell Ayanna this. I told Miss Crystal this. I said, how can you do a story about the billboard without actually talking to the person who put it up? I could be the Ku Klux Klan. You don't know what I could have been the Ku Klux Klan threatening black people. You do not know what my motivation was for putting those billboards up. Maybe you should actually talk to me and find out the reason why. That might help, you know. Just saying. Kipling Primus with WCLK, the Clark University radio station, sent us an email on February 17th, the day before. Now, she had said she had been trying to get tickets. When I talked to her here yesterday, I did an interview with her yesterday. She said she had been trying to get tickets. Interesting, because she didn't contact us until the day before. Once again, your historically black colleges going in the other direction. Now, just in case you thought it couldn't get any worse, February 18th, the day that Gentrified opens in those cities, Atlanta, D.C., Detroit, Chicago, Houston, London, the day of, a few hours before it's set to open, got an email from George Joseph. Mr. Joseph says, hi, ARC DC and Gentrified team. So he sent an email to the ARC Theater and us. Crazy as it is. This is February 18th, the day that the movie opens. He says, my name is George Joseph. I'm a reporter for City Lab, which is a publication part of The Atlantic, focused on urban issues. A freelancer and I were hoping to attend Gentrified this evening to potentially write up a review of the film. Would it be possible for us to get media passes for the 7 p.m. show this evening? If so, they should be set aside for Tina Rose Brown and George Joseph. Thank you and looking forward to it. The Atlantic, people. So far, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, The Atlantic, WBEZ, CBS 46 in Atlanta. I mean, people, your big radio stations, your big TV stations, your big online publications, your big print publications, people, they knew about us. This is what they were doing. This was not news. They knew what they were doing. They were deliberately trying to ignore us. They were trying to silence us and kill this film by refusing to publish it. And when they realized that that wasn't going to happen and we didn't need them to get publicity for it, and we didn't need them to get the word out, then they all wanted to jump up so they could try to tell people, well, come to us for the real story. If you want to know what happened with this film, we'll tell you the real story about it. And yet they waited until the very last minute. They were waiting until the last minute, hoping it would die, hoping it would fail. And when they realized it wasn't going to fail, then they jumped up to say, well, we'll try to characterize to people what you're really about. That was what they did. Yes, people, this is all real. This is all real. February 18th. My name is Tony Benz. I'm a freelance writer with Rolling Out. This is the day of, people. Actually, in this case, this was like 10 minutes before the film had opened. February 18th. Rolling Out. The Atlantic. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution. CBS 46. People, this is what was going on. These people were aware of what we were doing weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. It was not that we didn't promote, and it wasn't that they didn't know. They knew, and they were hoping to kill this film by depriving it of attention. They were hoping to kill our film. They were hoping to kill the movement and to kill black people, because a strong black unified people spells the death of white supremacy and all the coons and coonettes who get their favors from the dominant society. They want to make sure that the system stays exactly the way it is, with black people oppressed, because they think that they've found a safe niche for themselves under white daddy's armpit. That's what they're doing now. That's what they're doing now. Let me go over a few more of these here because I want to make sure we get everybody. My name is Tanasia Kinney, and this was February 20th now, okay? February 20th at 11:30 a.m. Now, this is 2 days after the film has aired in these markets. 2 days later, after the film is aired, we get an email from Tanasia Kinney. Good morning, my name is Tanasia Kinney, and I'm a reporter with online news site Atlanta Black Star. Your billboard highlighting gentrification in Atlanta and other cities across America have caused quite a stir, which is great, by the way, in the last few weeks. And I was reaching out to ask if anyone associated in the making of your film would be interested in telling us more about it. People, she waited until 2 days, good after the movie had left theaters, after the screening, to contact us. But she sits here and qualifies for you. Oh yeah, it's caused quite a stir. People have been talking about this for a while. And now she says in the last few weeks. Caused quite a stir in the last few weeks. She saw it, she knew about it, and she deliberately waits until after the film has closed. Why? Because this is the pattern of behavior that her and her kind have engaged in. They don't care about black people. They hate black people. They're not interested in improving black people's plight. They wish to see black people dejected and impoverished and in bondage and oppressed. Because she wants to have a job writing about it. That's what all these people who work for these white media outlets and the black ones who are pining to become part of the white media outlets and get acquired for them so they can get a better job. They just want to write about black people's suffering. They have absolutely no interest in dealing with it because they want the best seat on the plantation for themselves. They don't want us to leave the plantation. They just want to improve their bondage in it. So this was 2 days after that. Now listen to what she says next. She says, my deadline is end of day today, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please get back to me at your earliest convenience if interested. So she was writing a piece about our billboard. She contacted us 2 days after the film has left theaters, and then says, oh yeah, you've got 5 hours to contact us back. She calls us and gives us she emails us with a deadline of 5 hours. Yeah, this person is real serious about getting the news out there. This is the Atlanta Black Star, people. Do you see we're going down a who's who of so-called publications in black people's interests? A who's who of them. And look what they're doing. Now, Becca Godwin, I deliberately waited before responding to her just to do that. She responded back on February 20th, said, Jason, thanks for your response, but we'd already run the story when I got your message. Please feel free to contact me if there's ever anything you'd like to discuss. We'd already run the story. How can you run a story about a billboard of people that you never even spoken to? How can you do that? This is what's going on here. On February 21st, we had gotten another email. Well, we had gotten another couple of emails after that, but you're starting to get the idea now. Are you starting to get the idea that these people knew? These media outlets knew, people. They knew. They all knew. Everyone was aware. This wasn't hidden under a bush somewhere. This wasn't hiding under a blanket. It wasn't that these people were driving around town and, oh boy, we ain't heard nothing about this right here. Well, why ain't saying nothing about that now? Ooh. They knew. Everybody knew. This wasn't a big secret. It was an open, dirty secret that they all know, but they are the agents. The people who run your supposed black websites and black radio stations and black TV stations, they are the gatekeepers for the white supremacist power structure. They are it. This film was academic. It was highly intelligent, well-researched, and anyone who's listened to me or talked to me or whatever, or heard of me, you know that that's exactly what we do. You can immediately tell I'm not one of these mush-mouth, inarticulate, ebonic, spitting, hotep hobos. You know it's going to be intelligent and well-researched, logical, and plays out in that way. And that was exactly what they didn't want. They did not want that. And so they made a conscious effort to try to kill it because they are afraid of us, because they are the old media and we are the black media. And so they want to kill what we do because we are not trying to discuss new and inventive ways of bowing for massa. We're talking about how you can slit massa's throat and have your own, to own some things of your own. That's what we're talking about. And these people have made a conscious decision that they are against black people's interests. And that is why our film was the enemy in their eyes. Our film stood for everything that they stand against. And this is how deadly serious it was for them. This is just how serious it was. They wanted to all talk about the billboard. They did not wish to discuss the film at all. Ayanna Crystal talked to me for all of 2 minutes before moving on. Did not want to discuss the billboards. The only times I got more play than that was when I forced that situation. People did not want to discuss this film. If you are black in these areas, understand, they did not want to discuss this movie. They did not want to discuss what is happening to you where you are. They didn't want to talk about it. And they attempted to ignore it to death, to try to kill it by ignoring it. They thought that they were starving it of oxygen. And they committed journalistic malfeasance. When you see a newsworthy event, you have an obligation as a news reporter to report on it. And they made a conscious decision, no, we are not going to talk about this. Yeah, we've known for weeks. We ain't going to talk about it. People were contacting them. That's why they kept saying it's caused a stir. It's gotten a lot of attention. You're damn right it did. I did exactly what we were supposed to do. People were talking about it in the streets. They were calling up about it. They were posting it online. They were talking about it everywhere. What the hell kind of TV station and radio station has hundreds and thousands of people calling you and talking about something, and you refuse to speak on it? These weren't your white outlets. These were your black ones, showing you that there is no difference between them and Rush Limbaugh, the biggest buck-tooth, plug-nose, fat-face hood rat working at a TV station. She has the exact same mindset as Rush Limbaugh. There is no difference between the white supremacist and the coon. There is no difference between the white supremacist and the hood rat. They are flip sides of the same coin. There were others. Some of your black comedians and entertainers who fancy themselves as being fearless, and you found out just how cowardly they are. Ricky Smiley. Oh yes, I'm naming you, sir. Ricky Smiley was aware of what we were doing weeks ago. Ricky didn't say anything until it was too late. Then he posted about it. After people had jumped on him and jumped on him and jumped on him, then he finally posted something very short and very vague in passing. The so-called comedian Earthquake, same thing. He did the exact same thing. These are the niggas who get buck in front of black folk. They loud talk in front of black folk. Loudest things in the room, but when it's time to sit up here and stand up for black folk and confront white daddy, you found out what they really made of. That's why I don't want to hear about these entertainers and comedians. I told you all months ago, I'm done with the funny men. The funny men are out here milking black people's problems to build an audience, but after that, deuces. They won't even speak on it because he's worried about getting white sponsorship, not about black empowerment. So hello, Ricky and Quake. Yeah, I see y'all. Yeah, I'm putting you out there. Speaking of putting people out there, of course, I have to speak about my events. The Black Channel, with things like Gentrified and 7 a.m., we've made history. We've done it over and over again. And the great thing about it is because it's about the messenger and not the man. This is a level of discipline that you are simply unaccustomed to seeing black people engage in. And we are proud that we have set this as the benchmark, the mark of excellence and quality. We are proud that we have set that. But you gotta understand that unfortunately, because we're dealing in black society, that you've got so many brainwashed, buffoonish niggas who are conditioned to behave the way white daddy would have them behave. And so in their minds, nothing is about getting right. Everything is about getting over on someone else. And we told you all that we teach you about business. And as I've always explained to you all, business is the art of solving problems. Nothing's going to go perfect. Your job is to be able to deal with problems when they arise. That's your job. To be able to deal with a problem when you see one pop up. And if you're able to do that, now you're going to be able to have successful ventures. But understand, you are going to be spending most of your time dealing with problems. Now, your customers and associates and things won't see it. If you're a good business person, they won't even see the problems that you're dealing with on a daily basis. All they know is that things get done. They don't see the work behind the scene that goes into that. But even with events like this, there are difficulties that have to be dealt with. And they have to be surmounted. And we do it as no one else can. We have procedures in place. And protocols in place. And those were executed on February 18th. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Now, I want to make something very, very clear to everyone. There are a lot of you out there who are niggified and you tell yourselves that, well, black empowerment means giving me something for free. Not about what you can do for your people, but got any handouts over here? You got some handouts for me? Let me see if I can get over on other people. That's not empowerment. That's not economics, that's niggonomics. And I pride myself on the fact that we deal with business-minded people. But as I've always taught you all also, everyone who made it into 2016 with us ain't gonna make it into 2017. And just because someone made it into 2017 with us, you may not even make it out of 2017. You might not even make it out of January. And that's what happened. In New York City, we had a stellar premiere of Gentrified. We had one of the preeminent, if not the preeminent real estate mind in New York dealing with this in the heart of black society, Miss Willie Suggs. And during the question and answer session, because these films are not films, they are events. And during the question and answer session, she did as I requested and walked people step by step in withering detail about what they were expected to do and how to get things done as far as mortgages and property, qualifying, working together. She went into withering detail so that if you were completely unknowledgeable and clueless about it, and let's just face facts, pretty much most black people are when it comes to buying property. If you live in real estate, if you're a black person, you've probably never seen a mortgage. Why? Because New York is not a city of houses. It's a city of apartments, not houses. So if you live in New York City, for the most part, if you're black, you probably have never seen a mortgage. You need somebody to explain how to buy property to you. That's what she did. Broke it down and dissected it at an elementary level so that even a child could understand. That was the type of mind I wanted there. Thomas Lopez Pierre, another real estate broker, type of mind I wanted there. And what I attempted to do was I attempted to replicate that formula around America so that the film is what motivates you and gets you to understand the urgency of what needs to be done. And then after that, you don't have to ask, well, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I've got people who are going to explain to you, what do you do? That was what was supposed to happen in Atlanta. Now, people, when there is a screening that I put on, understand something. I've got something called Command Center. And whenever there is a screening that I put on, let me make this very clear. It doesn't matter where I am on this earth. My people can get a hold of me, and they can get a hold of me instantly. So if there is a problem, they can call or text, and understand that night, they will be able to get a hold of me instantly. Now, fortunately, most of them didn't even need to do that because the training and the protocols were in place. They simply executed. In Atlanta, it was unfortunate, though it did occur. I had to abbreviate the question and answer session. Why? Because this is supposed to be a Q&A session. I got people asking Q's, but they can't get no A's. That was the reason why I had to abbreviate it. I had to. I am not going to allow any event that I put on to be hijacked by anybody, including someone that I invited there. And actually, in this case, I did not invite them. They asked to show up. You all, if you heard the interview that I did on WAOK with Mary Gill, she asked to come to the screening. The phone call that I had with her beforehand, she asked, was there going to be extra time after the screening to discuss the issues? I said, absolutely. I do that at all my screenings. Most people don't. I reserve hours, not 30 minutes. I reserve hours of time at each of my events. You all know this. There are hours of time additional to the actual screenings so that people can talk, question and answer sessions, network. You're not just rushed out of the room. If I got you there, I facilitate making sure that you can get everything done that you need to. If you stand around chit-chatting, you're going to miss out. If you use it like it's supposed to be for business, you're going to make something happen. Some people attempted to take advantage of that. As unfortunate as it is, some people attempted to take advantage of it because they had gotten me to agree to allow them to take part of my screening. I put together a screening which is going to have hundreds of people there. Hundreds. And if I allow you the opportunity to address my audience of hundreds, because they didn't show up for you, ma'am, they showed up for this film. And if I allow you access to that audience, you're not going to come in here and abuse it. It was explained to her on the phone. It was explained to her by text in no uncertain terms that you are to have a step-by-step walkthrough about mortgages, because these black folk are going to come in there lying and saying that they know how to get a mortgage, and the reality is they don't. And the fact that black folk don't own nothing is proof positive that most black people are lying. They don't know anything about mortgages. Let's stop listening to their lies. It's like dealing with third graders. The teacher sits up there and explains long division, and as soon as she finishes writing out all this big long equation on the board, she turns around, and you all were in class, you saw it, she turns around and asks you, anybody got any questions? Do you understand it? And you all sit there and nod your heads yes, knowing full damn well you're all lying. None of you gets it. And when she gives a test, everybody failed it. I thought you all understood. They were just too nervous and too shy and too embarrassed to say, no, I don't understand it. Can you go through that all over again with smaller words, because I don't get it. And that's exactly what black folk are about financial information and financial education. Totally clueless and nobody wants to be honest. Well, here we are. I got your honesty for you. At the event, I do understand that there were some folk in Atlanta who during the Q&A session, they stood up and they wanted to give their damn life stories. And this is one of the reasons why, and I would just say it plain like it is, I don't like allowing a bunch of older black folk to show up. Older black people failed black society. You did not get rid of the Bull Connors. You didn't get rid of the Lincoln Rockwells. You accomplished nothing except integrating, which really means sexual access to white women. You shouldn't be saying anything at all at this point. You need to be just sitting back, shutting up and listening, because you didn't accomplish anything. And unfortunately, you had a bunch of old black folk who got up at the microphone at this event because they are never been listened to in their entire lives, because you have nothing to say, and they try to use these public forums as a place for them to finally get somebody to listen to them, because they were like, ooh, I'm in front of the microphone, all the eyes are on me now, watch me work, watch me perform, watch me talk. See, they have to listen to me now. Y'all got to listen to me. Don't you know these old niggas, old as they are, they'll sit up here and cause a whole scene and cause a riot simply to try to force you to listen to them. People, if you actually have something useful to say, you won't have to try to hijack an event. People will come looking for you. The reason that people ain't looking for y'all to talk to you is because you have nothing worth hearing to say. I just wanted to explain that to you short and sweet. People don't listen to you because you don't actually have anything worth hearing to say. So there you go. Short, sweet, and simple, eh? So there were a few folk who did that. Nicole, thankfully, shut that down. Stephanie had backup on that. And Stephanie was recording the event. I thought it would be worth it because we wanted to do like we did in New York. Wanted to record the event, and I was like most people. I was anticipating that we would have some good stuff to be able to share with people. Unfortunately, that did not occur. In professional wrestling, it is referred to as going into business for yourself. As you know, in pro wrestling, the events are scripted. They have, a script of what they're supposed to follow, what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately, if you go out there and do not execute what's on the script, you are not working with the business. You're not doing good business. You're going into business for yourself. You're doing something that has nothing to do with the event they put together. And sad to say, some of the people who had asked to be a part of hosting our Q&A had decided to go into business for themselves at our event. Unfortunately, The woman who was supposed to be hosting the Atlanta Q&A, Miss Gill, decided that she had her own agenda. People were asking questions, and I'm sorry if some of you are very simple-minded and you actually thought that she was answering your questions. That just shows how clueless you really are. She didn't answer anything. She gave some very vague, very general answers to some of the stuff you asked. But there was a young man, a couple of people actually, and I know because I gave Nicole the questions. There was a young man who had asked her outright, can you take us step by step through the mortgage qualifying process? That's it right there. Now, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to explain that. 5 if you want to be more detailed. It came to my attention that her response to him was, well, explaining qualifying for a mortgage, that's a really long, detailed explanation. That's not something you can get into quickly. But if you'll all join me in 2 weeks at the Epicenter, on whatever date she said, I'm going to be hosting a seminar and we'll be able to go in depth with that. Now, let me tell you something. You don't ever try no crap like that at an event that I put together. You don't ever walk into another man's house and decide you're going to start self-promoting on his kitchen table. Furthermore, you don't try to hijack my event and turn it into a sales pitch. If people wanted to have your damn sales pitch, they can call you up directly. You don't use my event where I gather a bunch of people and then you sit up here and transform it and try to hijack it and turn it into a sales pitch for you. They didn't come for a sales pitch. They came for a film. And hopefully to get some information on how to execute what they saw in the film. And that was the agreement that we had to allow you to speak. She was given unlimited time to speak. Explaining a mortgage takes 5 minutes. I told her by text and on the phone, you'll have unlimited time to speak. I want you to go into complete detail. And she said, yes, I want plenty of time to go into detail. And when it was time to ask about the mortgages and step by step, she didn't want to say anything. I want you all to join me later at another time, another place. People, that's called the secondary scene of the crime. The primary scene of the crime is the Circle K or the house where they kidnap you. There's a high amount of risk there because they have very little control over the environment. The secondary scene of the crime is where the guy drives you out in the woods, takes you to the basement, but takes you into the house out in the rural area in the country. Now he's got complete control at the secondary scene of the crime. And that's what was being done here. A secondary scene of the crime. You're already here at the shrine. These people are standing right here. They will listen for however long it takes you. It's only going to take 5 minutes. She tried to make it sound like it's going to need 5 hours. People, she just wanted you all to go out there to this other place so she could make a sales pitch. Like the Carlton Sheets people and all these late night real estate gurus. They invite you to the Ramada or the Marriott or whatever, to the conference room. They invite hundreds of people. Oh, it's a quote free seminar. And then when you get there, they start telling you, okay, for $1,000, you can find out XYZ. What she wanted to do with you all was some variation on that. I didn't invite her there to give you all a sales pitch. She was supposed to explain how mortgages work. That was her only reason for me allowing her to be there. And if she had said she was not going to do that and not going to go into the necessary step-by-step detail, and I specifically said step-by-step, if she wasn't going to do that, there was no reason for her to be there. And she knew that. But I guess she figured to herself that because she's female and most black males are just thirsty bum-ass niggas who bow to a skirt. And also because she's light-skinned. By the way, she did that on the radio, and I heard she did that at the event itself. So apparently a bunch of bum niggas out there, a bunch of old civil rights black males have gassed up this light-skinned grandmother's head to think that being light-skinned is just this incredible thing that impresses everybody. So she keeps mentioning to you, by the way, did you notice I'm light-skinned and could pass for something other than being black? I guess she thought she was really impressing us down here, and she couldn't have been more damn dead wrong. But in any case, she did that. And when I got word of what was happening, I said, shut it down. I said right then, right there, shut it down. After Nicole shut it down, and you see, people, we don't do drama, so I didn't give you an explanation for it. I just said stop because I don't do drama. After it was over, I had heard that there were people lined up to talk to Miss Gill. And that was when I got on the phone with the manager at the shrine that night. And I told him, you are to walk back into that building and tell Miss Gill that she is to leave the premises immediately. Not just to leave the theater, but to get off the shrine premises altogether. She has been officially kicked out of here by me. And that was what they did. So if you all want to know why he and Nicole did that and said to clear the auditorium immediately, that was because I told them, clear the auditorium. Tell Miss Gill that she is to leave the premises immediately. And she got up and jumped in her little jalopy and rode out. Because I told them to tell her she is to leave the premises now. Not just leave the auditorium, you are to leave the grounds now. Now, let me take this opportunity to explain to you all exactly what beyond what she tried to do to hijack the event really upset me about. If you'll remember, she said, join me in a couple of weeks at the Epicenter. Epicenter is out by Six Flags. It's not in the black neighborhood. It's out there in the middle of Six Flags. If you look it up on the map, you can see it's right there at Six Flags. Now, when I originally had spoken to her, she asked me where. I don't know if she asked me. I don't remember if she actually asked me. I want to say that she did ask me where the event was going to be held at when we first talked, and I told her it was going to be held at the Shrine Cultural Center at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. She immediately says, you shouldn't hold it there. She didn't suggest it. She said, you shouldn't have it there. Having this event at the Shrine, that's going to hurt your attendance. Because the Shrine is a religious organization, it's religious affiliated, and that's going to hurt your attendance. You need to hold it at the Epicenter. That's a place that's owned by Reverend whatever. So she just sat here and told me that I shouldn't hold the event at the Shrine because that's a religious organization, and points me at another forum that's owned by a religious organization. Wow. That sounds like some of that religious wars that some of these black folk like to get into. It sounds like that, but after the events that transpired on the screening night, it became very clear that no, there's something a whole lot deeper and a whole lot uglier than just an event, an instance of religious rivalry going on. My church is bigger and better than your church. She's obviously got home court advantage with these folks at the Epicenter. Apparently she's got some type of arrangement or whatever, some type of favorable agreement with them, and she can do what she wants to at that place. And she wanted me to bring my audience there, and when I didn't bring my audience there to her, she comes to my event to try to hijack them and drag them over there, and I was not going to let that occur. And if you remember the interview that I did with her, you'll all remember that I explained during the interview on the air why I was holding the event at the Shrine of the Black Madonna and not somewhere else. If it seemed like it was a little strange that I would go into that explanation, which I did it there and didn't do it anywhere else, it was because I was responding to what she had said to me, that I needed to hold the event somewhere else. I was responding to that statement by explaining why the event's going to be held at the Shrine and not somewhere else. So if that statement seemed a little out of place, now you all know why I made it. Because there was already some dispute and some debate going on before then. The other thing is I had to clear the building because I was not going to let you all sit there with this woman who is resorted to unscrupulous tactics and turned my event into an opportunity to sell and to upsell for herself. I had people who drove 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 hours from different states to come to Atlanta simply on the strength of the fact that of my word, they drove hours and hours bringing friends with them. And she has the gall to misuse these people's time to try to do something like this. On her radio program, she didn't do that, but she comes to my event to try to exploit people like this. Oh no. Oh no, absolutely. That will not occur. Not on my watch, it won't. Not on my watch. So I wasn't going to let you all just sit there and stand around with her trying to upsell you. Furthermore, I didn't want you all standing around with each other at that point. Since there was no real estate expert in the room who was willing to give you all real information, I wasn't going to have you all standing around feeding each other disinformation, because that's all that would have occurred. You didn't know before you showed up. The only thing that you all would have done was sit out there in the audience, and one of them old niggas out there would have tried to play pimp pastor. And as soon as the film was over and you're all just standing around talking, he would have been like, yeah, I know what they were saying in that film right there. Some of it sound pretty good right there. But let me tell y'all what the real thing is now. Listen here, brothers and sisters, let me tell you. All I would have done was gather you all together so some fast talking, jive, slick talking nigga can sit up here and mislead you. I was not going to allow that to happen. I would rather that you all leave with no more information and have a chance of getting something right than to stay and get misinformation dumped on top of more misinformation. I would have preferred that happened, that you just leave without hearing anything else, than to have you stay and get fed a bunch of erroneous, inaccurate things. I was not going to let that happen. I wasn't. And if someone wants to be upset with me about that, so be it. I was not going to allow that to occur. I was not. So rather than allow that to happen, I shut it down. That was what I did. Rather than sit there and listen to the situation get exploited, I wasn't going to do that. Just end it here. That's another thing. Black folk need to understand when they're not getting something. I had a bunch of people sitting up here trying to sprinkle icing, cake icing, on top of this mud sandwich and try to say that she was giving good information. No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. And this is what I mean. If you didn't understand that she was not actually saying anything, that's the reason why we did this event, because we need people to stop passing around disinformation. Everyone needs to be aware when they're being fed a bunch of garbage. And if there's someone who's upset about it and doesn't like what happened and doesn't like what occurred, the buck stops here. You got something to say about it? I'm the person you talk to. You don't like the fact that it got shut down? Nicole's not the person who made that call. I made that call. And I'm telling you, I did it and I would do it again. I made that call. And I made it in your best interests. And I regret that the event did not go completely according to plan, but I had a command decision to make for the best interest of these people who I consider to be under my care, and I made the best decision for them. And that's the truth. I made the best decision for them. What happened after the event? After the event, I received some text messages from Miss Gill, who was thanking me for allowing her to speak, and then saying that she was only sorry that the event got cut short. And I said the reason that the event got cut short was because you lied about what you were going to do. You tried to put people on a sales pitch to join you at the epicenter. You refused to answer their questions. So she has said that she hoped that there would be other screenings. And I said, yes, we certainly do plan on doing more screenings. They'll just be without you. At which time then she started sending me a string of text messages. I'm not talking about one or two. She sent like 10 text messages back to back. I only responded like once or twice and said, you know what you said, you know what you did, and this event was recorded. So there you go. Well, I don't know why I did that, because she then sent me 16 more text messages. I'm talking about clean into the next morning. I woke up and she was still sending me text messages. So that happened. I don't regret doing a Q&A. I don't. We need to have those. I do regret that unfortunately there are a lot of black folk out here who have ulterior motives, but we have to weed those out. We have to. And as far as any unpleasantness that may occur, as far as I'm concerned, our shoulders are broad enough to carry those. Our shoulders are broad enough to bear those. So I'm not worried about that. We're on a mission. And part of a mission is weeding out the people who are not on the same mission you are. So you're going to have people who they may have a little position. They might have some standing in their community. They might have been able to fast talk their way into a radio show or a TV show. Hell, Howard Stern's got a radio show. You have a bunch of white supremacists and pedophiles and other individuals got radio programs. That's not the biggest accomplishment in the world. I'm just saying. Just because you can get on broadcast radio or even broadcast television, okay, fine. That doesn't impress me. That might impress other people. It doesn't impress me. And you might tell yourself that, oh, these are a bunch of country bumpkin niggas and I'm just going to let them know I'm on the radio and they'll just be eating out of the palm of my hand. And what they found out is that dogs eat out of your hand. Men eat at the table. So you grossly underestimated the intelligence and the intellect of the people who would be there. Grossly. And that's on you. But be that as it may, that is why you all have me here, to make those decisions. Now, there were also events that happened at other venues also. And if I got to air some people out, you know what? I'll air them out too. I suggest that people watch their business partners, watch your wives, and don't go giving me any reason to turn us from all business to all drama. Because we can go from being the Black channel to the Hallmark channel like that. Let's keep it business. But if you want to make it drama, we can do drama like TNT. Just saying. In the meantime, though, people, I want to thank everyone who was a part of Gentrified, everyone who took place. Don't forget to go and see it in London on February 25th. We are looking at lining up some more screenings. We're going to come back to New York and a few other places. The DVDs will be available here. We're probably looking at March to make that available. The demand for it has been tremendous, and we're glad to hear that. This is precisely the kind of thing that we want to hear. We want to be driving the events. Because you see, TV One and Roland Martin ain't going to do this. They're here to exploit black people and to make money while black people are at the bottom. So that one guy, Roland, can make a living saying that he speaks for black folk, and in reality, he doesn't speak for anyone. That's the game that they play. So ask yourselves why it is that Roland Martin has not done this. Number one, he can't. Number two, he doesn't want to. Ask why Jamila Lemieux has never done it. Go ask why your black reporters at MSNBC and NBC and ABC, why they haven't done it. Why is it Soledad O'Brien has not done it? People, we are the black media, and we've proven it. In the last week, we've proven it. So I want to thank everyone about that. I want to thank everyone who has helped to establish us as that. And this is why they're angry over there in the old media. They're angry, and worse than that, they are afraid. They are afraid of a world where we set the agenda. Because now everybody's looking at them and asking, why come you're not talking about this? They're watching their viewership go down and ours go up. So yeah, they want us to quit talking. They want us to shut up. And they want everyone else out there to do them the favor of ignoring us. And since that's not happening, now they're trying to figure out how can they hijack the message and stop it. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's too late for that. It's out there now. And you're going to have to deal with a population that sees you for what you are. Feckless coons and yes men to the very people that you claim you're helping them to have resistance against. This is the dawn of empowered black media, and this is the sunset of the old coon looking for a job from the white folks black media. And it could not have come a day too soon. I'd also like to say to everyone out there, I regret if I've not been able to answer my emails. I have been flooded. I have been inundated. I am catching up with them now about the perks and things like that. Please be patient. I assure you they are coming. So for everyone who is supposed to get everything they're supposed to get, trust me, we're going to have that. This is what we do here, okay? This is what we do. I'm going to ask for your patience to give us a little bit of time to put that together and make sure that we have it right. Because more than anything else, I want to make sure we get it right. It is essential that we get this right. Because I feel that we are only going to have one chance at this. So please, let's not try to rush through this. Let's get it done, but let's get it done right. Let's not put our focus on getting it done quick. Let's get our focus on getting it done correctly. And I want to thank all of you who have entrusted me over all these years to be able to do that. And I want to make you one more promise. I told you years ago, repeating the old adage, we came to bring comfort to the afflicted and affliction to the comfortable. And the comfortable are not just the white supremacists at the tops, but the coons and their enablers and collaborators at the bottom. Both of them are comfortable, and it is our responsibility to make sure that they become very uncomfortable very quickly. And I assure you, we are toiling night and day on that. Right now, the Black Channel is looking forward, and we are looking at what will be the best use of our resources and our platform to go forward into the future. Because I don't look around at other black people engage the effectiveness of what we do against that. I take a look at white folk and Asians and Arabs and take a look at how effective are we as compared to them. And you've got guys like Vlad out there. You've got people like the Breakfast Club out there. And I really do feel that they could use some legitimate challengers. I really do. I think that they could really use some legitimate competition. And we will be dwelling on this and looking at this in the upcoming weeks and months. And hey guys, over there on the other side, don't be surprised if you start looking up more and more every day and people are not saying, did you hear what the Breakfast Club or Vlad said? People are going to be going to Vlad and the Breakfast Club and saying, hey, did you all hear what the Black Channel said? Yeah. A lot of folk don't think that could happen. They also never thought that you'd wake up one day and see billboards on the freeway confronting white supremacy head on. They didn't think they'd see TV commercials and radio commercials confronting white supremacy head on, unapologetically, and telling them that they are committing ethnic cleansing against black people. You didn't think that would happen either. We saw that too. No, we're not done yet. We're just getting started. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel.net radio program. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is unstoppable.